So the, just a heads up, the reason why it's a little dim in here is to reduce glare. So that's why I don't have the lights right above here. I don't know if you remember, I did that test with you all a couple weeks ago. This was the setting that everyone was like, oh, this works pretty well. Where's the owl nut? There we go. Melissa, feel free to use this time to do some reading before, and then the first thing we're going to get started with is a little reflection. Okay. It's always going to take people some time to attend. Okay, there we go. Everyone, can you hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Great, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you very much. Who is that? Luis, thank you. I'm going to try to get rid of the split screen mode right now. Yeah. Come on in. We're just getting, good morning. We're just getting started. What's your name?
Jasmine.
Jasmine, so nice to see you in person.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, go ahead and take out your House on Mango Street book. Go ahead and use this time to read while people are trickling into class, both in the physical space here in person and online. Be with you all in just another couple of minutes, and I'll give you the first activity that we're going to jump into. And just a few reminders, especially since today is the first day where I will be teaching to an in-person audience and a Zoom audience. If you have a question, just unmute yourself and pop in. I would love to see your faces, so if you can turn your video on, that would be great, but no pressure for that. What's the other thing that I wanted to say? So feel free to unmute and pop in. The other thing would be, if you have a question and I'm not seeing you or I'm not hearing you, please type it into the chat, okay? I will make sure to check the chat routinely. Ileana, our embedded tutor, she will help me check the chat as well. Ileana, feel free to scream at me if I'm not getting to student questions on Zoom or checking the chat quickly enough. All right, I wanna make sure to do a few things here. Let's do the live transcript. Okay, all right, so live transcript has been enabled. This way you can see whatever I'm saying will be captioned right below. I've got PowerPoint presentation dimmed here, so we're all set. Let's see if there's anyone else.
Oh, mister, I have a question.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, good. And you?
I'm managing. I'm doing well enough. How can I help?
The assignment for the mini essay, I cannot access.
Yes, that's correct. The assignment links, which I'm going to show you all today, like how to submit it, those haven't been published yet. But you should be able to see the prompt that we reviewed last week. Are you able to see that?
Yeah.
Okay, were you just wondering how to submit it? Where is the link for that?
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. You are predicting what I'm going to do today in class, so we will make sure to do that. If it looks like I'm going to close out and I haven't said that yet, feel free to pop in and remind me to do that, okay? But that is definitely on my plan of things to do. In fact, I'll write my plan up on the board. Let's see if Archimedes, that's the name of my owl. The owl is the name, is the camera technology that we have in here. Let's see if it follows me. For those of you who are in person, I apologize if it feels sleepy and sluggish in here. I was explaining to Melissa, this lighting was what you all said worked best for the camera. So that's why it's this way, to reduce glare. I can open up those if that helps a little bit more too. With that, do you guys want me to open up the curtains here a little bit more?
It's kind of gloomy outside anyway.
Yeah, I guess. I can't change the sun or the clouds, but okay. So we'll start with reflection. Discuss. Okay, for those of you at home, can you see what I've written up here on the board? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Nice, Anjali, okay. Ileana, can you see it okay? Yep, all right.
Just that number two kind of looks, the glare is making it really hard to see the second word.
Okay, number 2 is mini essay 1 resources, okay? So I will make sure to point out to you all once we get to this one here, what I've posted in Canvas that will help you. Actually, what I'll show you here are the example. I posted an example of mini essay 1, and I want to make sure to draw your attention to it and show you how it can be useful. So we'll get to that in a second. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So welcome everyone. We are now in week 3. This is when the magic really starts to happen. You start to practice your writing, and I get a chance to see how you are understanding what I've asked you all to do, okay? The mini essay is a strange assignment because it's not really an essay at all. There's no introduction, there's no conclusion. As I said last week, it's really one body paragraph, okay? And so for all of you, well, some of you might feel uncomfortable writing it like, oh, you got to have something to set it up, right? Nope, I want you to practice jumping right into it, okay? There's a few reasons why I ask you to do this. One is because your future papers that are going to be regular papers, okay? A lot of the grade is from the body paragraphs. So it's so important that you understand how to write a good body paragraph. And we're going to isolate it with this assignment. All you got to do is write one body paragraph, okay? That body paragraph, as we talked about last week, right, involves a point, right? A point is a claim and 2 support sandwiches, okay? I need you to practice that form in this assignment. That's the most important thing, is that I see you in your topic sentence making a debatable claim, okay? We can review, well, what do you mean by debatable, okay? And you can always return to week 2 to review the presentation that I gave on it, okay? But you start by making a claim, okay? Because that gives you something that you've got to try to prove in your paper. It gives the paragraph direction. And then you've got to back up what you say, okay? All of us have probably experienced, especially in our culture lately, okay, with the pandemic and things before the pandemic. People just say shit, okay? And they don't back up what they have to say with any kind of evidence, right? So we're going to get into the practice of doing that, okay, with something that we all have access to, right? We are all reading one story, right? So let's see if you can make a claim and back up what you have to say with evidence from here, okay? So that's what we're doing, and we need some practice with this. That's the purpose of mini essay 1, right? Let's just isolate. Can you make a point in one body paragraph, okay? So we're getting ready for this small assignment due Friday, and at the same time, we've got to keep making progress with this novel, right? And get ready to write a bigger paper in a few weeks. The bigger paper is about Esperanza, right? She is the protagonist for this story, okay? Let's see where I was going. I didn't realize that fixing my mask would make me lose my train of thought so quickly. This paper, mini essay 1, is about a small character though, okay? Any one of the smaller characters that Esperanza introduces us to, okay? Like Kathy, the Queen of Cats, who moves to France, right? What if we can believe what Kathy says, right? Marine, right? Her kind of more racy, older neighbor, right? Who babysits the kids, okay? So these are just some examples of characters that you can also write about for this week. For this reflection though, okay, I want you to think about Esperanza, okay? Because we need to keep an eye on her and her development. Last week, in the overview page, I asked the question, what does Esperanza want, okay? When we're studying a character in a story, the main character, most importantly, the protagonist, what they want drives the action of the story, okay? We have conflict because the main character does not get what they want, okay? Unless we're taking a literature class and we want to destabilize narrative structure, which Ileana, I know, can do. We're not doing any of that here because it's not a lit class. So we're going to keep it simple. The protagonist wants something and they can't get it right away. If they did get it, the story would be over, okay? So what I want you to do right now in your reflection is to brainstorm, what does Esperanza want, okay? And I want you to think about all kinds of things that she could want, okay? You can think about things that she literally says she wants, okay? You can think about things that maybe she doesn't directly say she wants, but you get the sense, oh, I think she wants this based on these other things that she does or says, okay? Maybe another character helps us understand what Esperanza wants, okay? But that's what I want you to reflect on right now. What does Esperanza want, okay? Please go ahead and do that. I would suggest that you do that in some typing format because that's your discussion board for this week, okay? It centers around this question. So take this opportunity to draft your reflection because it will help you post your first post to the discussion board, okay? I will write that question up on the board. Owl, follow me, thank you, good. There we go. All right. Type that question into the chat right now too. All right, so go ahead and take about 5 minutes to reflect on this question here. Okay, as you are reflecting, feel free to write down examples. and page numbers. Right? We're keeping a record here. We're keeping track. Got 3 more students in the waiting room. Good. Ileana, in the future, I might ask you to be a co-host with me, just so that way you can monitor the wait list, like people who are in the waiting room, if you don't mind. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so please go ahead and reflect. I will be taking attendance in just a second. Oh, I got, what are your names? Ryan, nice to meet you. You have Ray. Ruben, nice to meet you. What is it? Nice to meet you. In the future, you guys don't have to wait when I lecture. Just come right over. Oh, it was live. Yeah. Okay, guys, so we're starting with this reflection question here, okay? What does Esperanza want? Okay, just brainstorm. Think about it in any way that comes to your mind, okay? It could be something she directly says she wants, but also start to interpret maybe what she wants, okay? You can use your book, it's not a quiz, right? This is meant to help you prepare for future writing. Okay, everyone. So as you are continuing to write and reflect, I'm going to call out your name. Please just let me know that you are here, whether you are on Zoom or you are in the classroom. Luis.
Here.
Thank you. Ryan, I know I just let you in, Ryan, right there. Awesome. Okay. Emily. Emily here. Okay. Brandon. Brandon. Okay. Pedro? Here. Great. Alejandro. Alejandro's not here. Okay. Angel.
Here.
Hi, Angel. Jasmine.
Here.
Did you say Yasmin?
Okay.
How do you pronounce your name? You go Jasmine or Yasmin?
Jasmine.
Ja-
Either one.
Either one's fine. Okay. All right, Jasmine. Christopher. I think Christopher changed sections.
Here.
Oh, hey, Christopher. Okay, great. Angeli,
Here.
Ira. Where are you at, Ira? Good. Nice to meet you. Okay. Richard. Richard. Okay. Stephanie.
Here.
Great. Gladys.
Here, sorry.
Hey, no worries. Good. Hello. Hi, what's your name?
Emily Diaz.
What is it?
Emily Diaz.
Emily, perfect. Emily, I just called your name, so mark you here. Okay, Joel. Joel? Nope. Melissa, right here. Consuelo.
Here.
Hello. Thank you for attending. Yadira.
Here.
Hello. Go ahead and keep writing. I'm almost done. Maria. Rios Cabrera. Great. Thank you. And Ruben. Here. Ruben, great. Okay. Awesome. Okay, everyone. So as part of making a point, one thing you start with is making the claim, right? What is it that you're trying to prove here? The answer to this question, you've all made a claim, whatever you think it is, right? Okay. So that is an example of a claim you have right in front of you. Right? So sometimes maybe if you're feeling kind of stuck and you're like, I don't know what a claim is exactly, well, ask yourself a question. That's not a factual question. Okay. So like if we said Sandra Cisneros is the writer of The House on Mango Street, do you think that is a claim or a fact? Yeah, that's a fact, right? So that's not debatable. She wrote the book, it's presented right there on the cover, okay? But how we interpret what Esperanza wants in life, that is debatable, okay? Where there are different sides to that, okay? We can approach that differently. So one question was the one that led to a claim. Now what I want you to do is to tell me why, or sorry, I should say, how do you know? How do you know this is what she wants? Okay, so go ahead and try to answer that right now. Okay, and if you already did answer it, then circle it. Okay, how do you know this is what she wants? Emily, as I was saying to others, this reflection, I would like you to write it out because this is your discussion board. The first post is all for this week is all about what does she want? So, first question, what does she want? Second one, how do you know? Okay, what I just typed into the chat is what I wrote on the whiteboard, okay? The answer to the question, what does she want, is a claim. The answer to the question, how do you know, is support, okay? So this will help you to start asking the kinds of questions that will help you write paragraphs. Okay, take another minute to gather your responses, and then I want to hear from you all and kind of get a sense. Let's do a little bit of a class brainstorm together. What is it that we think Esperanza wants? That way we have a sense of what are some options, okay? So as we are reading the story, these are things that we can track. These are things we can pay attention to. Okay, so let's start with the first question. For those of you at home on Zoom, you can unmute yourself and pop in, or you can type it into the chat. How did you guys answer that question? What does Esperanza want? And for those of you in person, feel free to raise your hands. Okay, I'm just going to take areas from both. Okay. What do you guys think? Dyra, what do you think?
I think she wants to move up in her social class.
Okay, she wants to move up in her social class. Let's see. I know if I start writing over there, that's gonna not be visible. That's a great response. Awesome. Great. How many do we also think this? Raise your hands if you think she wants to move up in social class. Yeah, a lot of us here in the class. How about at home? How many of you guys think that she wants to move up in social class? Yeah, that's good, right? Now, we can make a question like this more specific, like when we want to track this, right? Yes, we all agree she wants to move up, right? But how will she move up, right? That's how we can start to take this idea and make it even more specific and make it grow. That's an excellent starting point. What are other things maybe that she wants that are either related to this or separate from it? Yeah, Melissa.
She wants a house like in Mexico.
Okay, do you see it as related or separate?
Related.
Related. Emily, you agree? Yeah, okay. Did you say, you said she wants a house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Professor Gardner, we have another one in the chat too.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Angel writes that she wants a new name. Excellent. Very nice. Okay, excellent. I like that. Christopher writes that she wants a best friend. Stephanie writes she wants a good relationship. These are awesome ideas. All right. So best friend. Yeah, she's kind of crappy to her little sister, isn't she? You know, built like an anchor tethered to a balloon. Geez, what a horrible image. I mean, great image, right? Because we all know a balloon is like transcendent, right? It helps you feel childlike and like you can fly. And an anchor attached to it. Oh boy, terrible. So it was best friend and a good relationship. Now, Stephanie, when you say a good relationship, with who?
Well, I was actually going to say because somebody said best friend, but it's the same thing.
Okay, so you see it as she wants a better relationship with a friend. Do you think that she wants a good relationship with her family?
Yes, and also for herself, to talk to somebody. Yeah.
All right, friend, let's see. I'll put family in parentheses. We have a really good list here. You guys, I would write this down, okay? Because we're going to be working on essay 1 after mini essay 1 this week. We're going to focus on Esperanza. These are all really good things to track, okay? And yes, some of them are related to moving up in social class, but when we start getting into new name, friend, and relationship, that could be related to social class, but that could also go in a different direction too, all right? Let's see. Emily, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, I had a quick question.
Yes, go for it.
Since you said the answer is a claim, well, wouldn't one name be a fact?
Yes.
Because I also wrote down a new name.
Yes.
Which we already know.
Right, and she literally says, I want a new name, and she also literally says, I want a new house, right? We know that she doesn't like the house on Mango Street. It's not meeting her expectations. We talked about that last week. Okay, good. So then the question is, how do we take something that's factual and turn it into an interpretation, okay? That's when you add a little equal sign here, right? And you interpret that. What does it mean when she says she wants a new home? What does it mean when she says, I want a new name, right? Now, I'm thinking of the name chapter. I don't think, was the name chapter in the section that we had to read last week, or is that this week? I'm blanking on where that's at exactly. Have you guys gotten to that chapter yet? Some of you, Dyra, do you remember where that is
It's
exactly?
in like the beginning.
It's pretty early on, okay? So certainly that chapter will help us understand what does her current name mean to her, right? And then we'd have to compare that to what is a new name that she would want. And I think she tells us a couple of names that she would prefer, right? This is actually a really good transition to analysis, right? I talked with you all about that really long lecture page that I wrote, and I said, don't really bother with it, just understand that meaning changes based on context, okay? So here's a little thing that I do to try to demonstrate that. And I want to make sure it's going to be visible to the class. This is also important. This is a struggle of my life. Everything matters, right? What can I get rid of? I'm a hoarder. Let's do this. I don't want, this is easy to replace. I'll put this back up. And this is right in front of the camera too. All right, so here's my Happy Meal lecture on interpreting things, on what we call in literary studies, that's my background, or cultural studies, semiotics, okay, the interpretation of signs. Okay, so what is that? A plus sign, who said that? Okay, great. How do you know that's a plus sign? Pardon me? You learned it in math, so you're taking your experience with math and bringing it here, right? We know for sure it's a plus sign if we put numbers around it, right? Okay, what else could it be? It could be a chart, okay? Now, I'm not very good at drawing, so I don't know how to make it into a chart really quickly. But thinking of like maybe matrices, right? Also in math, okay, becomes a chart with tables, right? We can draw things in different quadrants, okay? Oh God, I'm going back to like algebra 2. I don't think I can do it. I think it's something like that, okay? Right, different quadrants, right? The x-axis, y-axis, okay, good. So we have math stuff that we know it can be. Let's expand a little bit. What else can this thing be? For those of you at home, can you see what I put up on the board?
Yes.
Did you hear your classmate said it was a plus sign and then I drew numbers around it? What are some other things that it could be?
What about a graph?
Graph, yes. One of your classmates mentioned a graph. That's certainly a possibility. Could it
What
be
about
something? Go ahead.
what about a T?
Yes, excellent, right? How would we know if this is a T? What do we need with it? I had to put numbers around it for you to know for sure it was a plus sign. What would need to
Other
be
letters?
letters, yeah. If I start putting letters like that, okay, now we have a sense that it's a T, okay? What if I did this? Take away the letters and I draw that. What is it now? A church, right? And this has become a religious symbol. It's no longer a math sign. It's no longer a linguistic sign, right? Now it's a sign of spirituality, possibly. But what if I light it on fire? Okay, I'm so irreverent. What if I light it on fire? What's that now a symbol of? You guys know, have you ever heard of the burning cross and what that's a sign of? Okay, that's a sign of racial hatred. That's what the Ku Klux Klan would do, okay? Right, so that's a white supremacist group that was particularly known for tormenting, okay, for killing Black people, not just in the South, but they had chapters that go, and they have chapters that go all the way out here to California, okay? So this now becomes a sign of racial hatred, right? It's the same two sets of lines, right? the point of this little thing here is that there's nothing natural about the meaning of it. It's all cultural, right? And it changes based on context, okay? So this is to say that anything that we know, certainly that is cultural, right? We understand what it is through association, through what we associate it with. When we had numbers up there, oh, it's a plus sign. When we had letters up there, right? Oh, okay, now we know it's part of a word. It's linguistic. When we put it on top of crude geometrical drawings, right? We're like, oh, that's a church, okay? So the same thing goes when we're reading this story and we're trying to understand what does her name mean? So we have to compare it to all of the other times she talks about her name or to names that she wants, right? And that association, that comparison helps us. But we also need the other part, which is to contrast it, okay? We have to know what it is not, right? To be able to differentiate, oh, it's different from this thing that it's like in this other way, okay? So compare and contrast, right, are keys to how we understand meaning, okay? How we understand what something's significance is. And we're going to be applying that here to all of these different things. So when we, it was Daira, right? Daira, you mentioned this one here, moving up in social class. That is not factual, right? That's more of an interpretation, an interpretive response to that question right away, okay? Which is a great, I think, response. So that's a claim right away, Emily. But when we say something more literal, well, she says she wants a house, right? We know she's unhappy with Mango Street. Well, now we have something factual and we need to turn it into an interpretation. And we do that by a process of compare and contrast, right? Well, what does this house mean to her, right? What does she associate with it, okay? Same thing, Angel, you had brought up the new name, right? What does it mean to have her current name? Okay, that is a paragraph all by itself, right? What does she think of her own name? You try to make a claim about that. And then the following paragraph would be, well, what is this other name that she desires? What does that mean to her? Okay. That brings me to another point about the mini essay. And whenever you guys are writing paragraphs, it's going to sound very uncomfortable, but you make one claim, okay? There's an urge for students when they're writing the mini essay to like use the word and, okay, in their topic sentence. She represents this and this. It's like, nope, just one thing. Just give me one thing at first. She wants to move up in social class. Okay, great. Prove it. That's your job in that paragraph. Do that one thing. Demonstrate to me this is what she's doing. If I think your claim is too broad, I'll tell you, but I would rather have you start with one claim, okay, and just prove that one thing in that paragraph, okay? We'll work on making it more complex if we need to, okay? What I don't want is a list, because you see, when I grade your mini essays, okay, in part, my ability to grade is based on what you tell me you're going to do, right? And that's what the claim does. The claim is like a promise, like, oh, I'm going to prove this, okay? Well, if you say you're going to prove like 3 things, then I'm going to go look for evidence for 3 different things, okay? That's giving yourself more work to do. Instead, just claim to prove one thing that is debatable. This is debatable. This is not, and this is not. This needs a little more work. We need to turn that into an interpretation. Okay, her desire for a new house represents what? A desire for something else. What is that thing? Okay. Her desire for a new name represents what, right? When you make that statement, now it's debatable, okay? You go and you prove that. All right, I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you guys here. I'm gonna check in on the chat. Let's see here. Good, we have the church. Stephanie, I don't know what you're overthinking about, but this is the right place to do it. New name, thank you, Eliana. Good relationship with her family. Excellent. These are all great ideas. Okay, good. So any questions on that mini lecture about interpreting things or how to approach the mini essay? Not right now? Okay, that's fine. So these two things are really important. There's your claim, and then you got to go back it up. That's where you have the page number for the examples, okay? And you guys will learn, right? When we present support, we first need a reason, okay? Well, how do you know that she wants to move up in social class? Because what, right? That's your reason. That's different from evidence. Evidence includes the quotes, okay? The actual quotes where Esperanza says, this house sucks, right? Or I wanted to live over in that neighborhood instead. Or the house was supposed to have X, Y, and Z, okay? The actual quotes are the evidence. With support, we have two parts to it though. We need reason first. Okay, that's the because statement. You don't need to literally say because. I think that's a common way for us to understand what reasoning is, okay? So like, Tyra, you say, well, Esperanza wants to move up in social class. How do you know? Because she complains about her life all the time, okay? Because she wants to have more money, right? Okay, well, prove it. Where does she say that? Where do you see that? That's when evidence comes in, okay? So when we're writing our paragraphs, after we make our claim, the very next thing that needs to come up is the reason. And after you give that reason, then you give me your two support sandwiches, okay? Context quote analysis, context quote analysis, okay? Rinse and repeat. That is the structure you all need to know, okay? And we will practice it over and over and over again. We will get better at it, okay? All right, so as far as the MLA resources that I want to share with you, or I should say the mini essay resources. Not yet. Sorry, everyone, I'm trying to get the right screen up for you. Class wouldn't be complete without a professor fumbling with technology. All right, let's try this again. Perfect. Here we go. Okay. All right. So let's go to the week 3 module. And I'm going to put you guys on the big screen up here. So weird. This used to be like my everyday, and then like, 2 years go by, well, 18 months, right? And everything feels new again. Okay. Let's get. There it is. Okay. All right. So for those of you who are in class, you can look up at the screen here. For those of you who are at home, I'm sharing my screen and you can see the module here. Let's get you all on the same page. So by the way, quick note, I will be changing what's called the home page, okay, every week. Very first week, it was a tutorial, kind of like a bunch of this is how you navigate the course website. Last week was the first week where you saw something like this. I tell you what our goals are. I remind you what's the required reading. And then usually there will be some kind of an image there, okay? In this case, the first thing that is on the home page is actually a voice thread. I use this technology all the time now to update my presentations. I talk you through how I'm going to grade your papers right here, okay? How I'm going to grade mini essay 1. That's what a rubric is. I tell you, these are the elements I'm looking for, and these are the standards, okay? So please make sure to review that. For all of you at home, okay, that's this very first page, which is now our home page. And you can see right there in the center, it's the rubric review for the mini essay, okay? All right, just select this hyperlink to get back to the module. Okay, so the first 2 entries here, in the week 3 module our review of last week, how to make a point in a paragraph, which we've just kind of done. But this voice thread walks you through the checklist that I have presented here. Here is the checklist without the voice thread. I recommend that you have this checklist with you when you are editing, okay? There we go. Okay. Let's make sure you all can see it too. All right. So, you know, when you're first starting out with writing anything, don't edit yourself, okay? I really recommend that you separate the process of creation from editing, okay? Editing gets you into that mode of, oh, this isn't good enough, or this doesn't sound right, right? Okay. We do want to tap into that inner critical voice, okay, but at a later stage, all right, not early on. Early on, if you do that, it's going to make writing really painful. And some of us talked about that in week 1. Writing can be painful, right? We just keep judging our writing. Every time we write something out and we just delete it, you know, you're not going to get anywhere. So at first, you know, just answer those questions that I've done like in class, right? What does she want? How do you know? Okay, just write your response down. Okay, if it helps you, type it up. Then go back and revise it. But this is a sheet you can use at any point in the writing process that you think is best. And it just lists for you all of the things that should be in your body paragraph, okay? From topic sentence to reason to support sandwich, it also lists them in order, okay? And that's what the voice thread reminds you of, okay? When it comes to analysis, you do not need to do all 4 of those things, compare and contrast or cause and effect. I'm letting you know those are options for interpreting things, okay, like we just went over here, right? So if you're getting stuck and you don't know how to say why this matters or what this signifies, well, just ask yourself, okay, if I compare it to something else and then I contrast it, does that help me explain why it matters? Why this new name is better for Esperanza than this old name, okay? Great, right? If I look at what's causing her to want a new house, is that going to help me support the claim that I'm making? Okay. So anyway, when it comes to analysis, these are just options. But every paragraph needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then you repeat 7, 8, 9, 10. There's about like 10 sentences, okay, that you're going to have every paragraph. So I say this because some students are like, I'm worried about my paragraphs not being long enough. Well, it's probably because you're missing some of these things, okay? Go back, make sure that all those things are present, okay? If you have all of those things are present, you're going to easily have well-developed paragraphs, okay? The very least questions that I have when I'm grading, they'll be answered. Okay, so that's one resource. Okay, and then the others that I wanted to point out to you, you know, it was brought up last week, if not in our section, in another one. Well, how do we format the paper, right? What are the MLA concerns, okay? We're gonna build bit by bit, okay? I explain what the MLA guide, I introduce it here in this tab. And then right below it, I give you an example of what this assignment looks like. Don't be scared by the example. You do not need to write the way that that student wrote. The example comes from a literature class, okay? And the student was very knowledgeable and clever about using critical race theory to interpret something, okay? So it's pretty cool writing to see another student interpret something using race as a lens to study literature, but that's not our class, okay? What I want you to focus on when you look at the model is look at the paragraph structure, okay? Take out that checklist and see, did they have a claim? Did they have reason? Did they provide 2 support sandwiches, okay? I made a little video that actually walks you through that, okay? And, you know, it's not perfect. It doesn't have everything. So kind of play a game with yourself. You know, try to see what's missing from that student, from that very good paragraph. What's missing here? Or what did they maybe kind of shortchange themselves on that they could have expanded and developed a bit more? All right, so those are the main ones in the middle, okay? And then the thing that I wanted to spend time with you all on today was the little lecture about fragments, okay? So this is the first week where I'm gonna start to teach you a grammar lesson, okay? We are probably only gonna do about 5 grammar lessons the whole semester, okay? It's not because grammar is not important, okay? It's because there's a lot of grammar rules, okay? And I rather would focus on a few big ones. Things like if you're writing a job letter, a resume, personal statement to apply to a UC, you should not have there, right? Things that we need to fix. You know, the other thing too is you all are smart and you absorb language through things you read and the way you speak, okay? And sometimes what we read or the way we speak is a little informal and that makes its way into papers. Sometimes it's good and it's like, oh, I kind of know that grammar rule just because I know, oh, you shouldn't speak like that, right? And other ones, it's like, nope, I'm taking my informal language and I'm bringing it in here. So these 5 lessons that I want to share with you, I hope will increase your awareness of some of these, you know, big boo-boos, these big mistakes that we don't want to do, okay? So the first one is about making, you know, just complete sentences. All right, so I'm going to go to that now. For those of you at home, I hope you can see this voice thread. I'm going to get to the very beginning of it. Here we go. Okay, what is a sentence? For those of you in class who can see this page, actually, I can get you to the same page without losing the voice thread. So if you select what's a sentence, okay, you can see that it introduces some common terms, okay? All right, so a sentence has to have 3 things: subject, a verb, and the ability to stand alone, okay? We need to know what a subject is, okay? Usually subjects are nouns or noun substitutes that we call pronouns, okay? A noun is a person, place, or a thing, okay? So if we said Esperanza wants a new house, what would be the subject of that sentence? Esperanza wants a new house. I'm going to type that into the chat right now, if it allows me to. I don't think I can do it without stopping sharing, so I'm going to leave that as is. All right, so think about this sentence. Esperanza wants a new house. What would be the subject of that sentence? Subject is a noun or a pronoun. Esperanza wants a new house. Not this one. Okay, what do you guys think? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 words to choose from. There's only one that's going to be the subject. House. House is a noun. So I'm going to put our nouns in boxes. Okay. And a noun is a person, place, or a thing, but that is not the subject of this sentence here. Sorry, Emily? Oh, you didn't say anything? Okay, yes? She wants. Okay, so Esperanza wants. What's the noun in there, in that bracket? Esperanza, that's the subject, okay? So Esperanza is a person, place, or a thing. That's a noun. She is our subject. Okay, so that's a really important first step to writing a complete sentence, is knowing, do I have a subject? Okay, so let's just linger on this for a second here. A subject should be a noun, but you'll have multiple nouns in a sentence, right? So for this one here, this is the star, right? The person or thing that is driving the action of the sentence, okay? So think about the subject as like the main character, right? Like, who's the subject of the story? The house on Mango Street. Esperanza, right? All of the action, all of the thoughts and observations come from her mind, right? She drives the story with what she sees, okay? And in the second book that we're going to read, Wellington is the subject of the story, okay? He is our protagonist. So I want you to think in terms of grammar, the subject is the star. The subject is the protagonist of the sentence. What does it all come around? Because you will have multiple nouns. We got to pick the right one. And the way we know who the star is Jasmine, by the other thing that you brought up, wants, okay? What action does the star do, okay? In this case, it's an aspect of desire. So we have our checklist, right? Subject. Check. Verb. Check. Okay. Now the last thing, right? I said that you need to have a full sentence, the ability to stand alone. Okay. What does that mean? That's the often tricky one for us. Okay. We have to make this concrete. It can't just be abstract. We can't just leave it up to each one of us to determine whether this thing is independent or not, okay? So how do we know if it can stand alone? It's kind of funny. It's got to be missing certain words, okay? Words like while or although, okay? Those are called coordinating conjunctions, okay? And I have those. I have a list of those words for you. I have a short list here. Okay. For those of you in the class, take a look at that list. For those of you at home, I'm going to show you right now. I can move this bar. And I will check on the chat in just a second. Okay. For those of you at home, I hope you can see this list of what are called subordinating conjunctions. The word subordinate means to put down. Sub, right, tells us it's below, like a submarine, right? So these subordinating conjunctions, when you put those at the beginning of a sentence or at the beginning of a group of words that we call a clause, it can't stand alone anymore, okay? We have to connect these things. So like, let's say I put the word because in front of this. Because Esperanza wants a new house. Does that sound complete? No, right? We know something's missing. So sometimes we can rely on our ear, right? Sometimes can we just go like, does that sound like it stands, like it can be on its own? But to know for certain, we've got to know what kind of word we have. And we know because is on the subordinate list, okay? As soon as we put that in front of a word group, can't stand on its own, we have to attach it, okay? So we have to do one of two things. We got to add another word group to this, right? Because Esperanza wants a new house, she will get a job so she can earn more money, right? Now it's complete because we've attached it, okay? Or the simpler thing, just go back, just get rid of it, okay? So it's the absence of these words that makes something able to stand alone if it has a subject and a verb. So this, Esperanza wants a new house, that's good. That has the ability to stand alone, right? So we got our three checks. That's how you know you very simply have a complete sentence. It's got three things, okay? So I'm not going to go too much more into it right now because that I think is good information for you. When you're missing one of these things, you have a fragment, okay? This presentation that I have here, the one that you'll see, okay, in the slideshow, walks you through the different kinds of fragments that can appear, the different ways that one of these things can be missing and they can kind of trick us, okay? There is a practice quiz that I put in our module for this week, okay? I want you all to take it after you've reviewed this. Do it before you write your mini essay, okay? Or I should say, do it before you edit it and submit it, right? So that way you can prime your mind to look for these things in your one paragraph, okay? Everyone, that quiz does not hurt your grade in any way. You can retake that quiz many times as you want to review the information, okay? You might want to even take the quiz before you do this, because taking that quiz and seeing, all right, what don't I understand? That'll help you to focus when you're looking at the presentation. What are areas I should look at, okay? Questions about making a complete sentence and what a fragment is? Nothing. I'm going to check the chat really quick. I know I got behind on that. Cool. Yeah. All right. So complete sentence has three things: subject, verb, ability to stand alone. When you're missing one of those things, you've got a fragment. Okay. We need to make sure we can show ourselves and other people when we're writing, we know what a complete sentence is. Okay. So that's a very, very important part, the starting of writing. Once we can do that, we can start to play with the different parts of a sentence and we can start to add style. Okay. All right. Let's see. I think for now, I just want to show you where you're going to turn in the mini essay and then we'll call it a day. Okay. So everyone, let's go back to the main module, the week 3 module. All right. So at the moment, I do not have your assignment links published. And what you can see right now is the instructor version of this module. There they are, right below the discussion board for this week. I'm going to bring my in-person class up to speed too. Okay, so what you'll see here are 2 assignment links, okay? It's the same assignment. You don't have too many essays to turn in, okay? I have that for 2 different purposes, okay? What you will do is you will write your mini essay. And I want to say, I recommend write it on Google Docs, okay? I encourage you to write it on Google Docs because Google Docs has autosave, right? Your computer crashes, your internet craps out or something like that. Google Docs will keep it, it will autosave it every few seconds. Okay, so it's a very good chance that you will not ever lose all of what you have written, okay? So I strongly encourage that. It'll help you deal with any kind of an emergency situation, all right? So what you'll do is you'll have your Google Docs, your Microsoft Word file, and you're just gonna submit it to 2 links. You'll submit it to the Turnitin link. That way I can do a plagiarism check, okay? There's a certain amount, there's a certain Turnitin, it's called an originality report, okay? There's a certain percentage that I allow, up to 25%, okay? And I will have an announcement about that, all right? Just it's worked in the past. If we're all writing in English and we're all writing about the same thing, there's gonna be some things that we share, okay? The concern is when, obviously the worst case scenario is you are using what someone else has written and we have to have a conversation about that. But oftentimes the case is we're probably just quoting too much from the book, okay? So if the quotes are too large, the originality report will pop up kind of high, all right? And I don't fail it, right? You'll read my announcement. I've got different degrees, okay? We'll have a conversation. I'm always one to talk first, okay? I never assume the worst with anyone, okay? So this one is kind of like, checking on our on how we're citing our sources properly, how we're formatting things and avoiding plagiarism. This one is where I actually grade it, okay? You'll notice it says graded rubric link, okay? That's where, listen to that voice thread that I posted to our homepage. I explain how you earn points for this assignment, okay? But it's not gonna be a surprise. Do you have a topic sentence claim? Okay, how good is that, right? And I've got 4 levels, right? Do you have a reason? Okay, your because statement, does that back up that? Do you have 2 support sandwiches? Are you using MLA? And do you have any fragments? That's it. Okay, those are the things I'm looking for. All right. It's about like 5 things. Okay, which is plenty for us to focus on. All right, there's more than enough there. All right. But my goal is always to be as transparent as possible. I want you to know what I'm thinking. I want you to know how I'm grading you because I want you to know how to improve. Okay. Ideally, your independence, okay, with understanding how to improve your grade increases over the course of the semester. Okay. You start to understand what I'm looking for. You understand how to fix problems. Okay. I always will be there to support you. Okay, you want to meet and we need to better understand how to improve. Great, I'm down for that. Okay, but I also want you to feel empowered because one day you're not going to be in my class and you've got to know how to fix your own writing. You've got to know how to go back and make it better. Okay, and I wouldn't be a good instructor if I created this dependency, right? I had this unique system that you had to just keep coming back to me to. Okay. So I want you all to feel we're gonna balance it, right? Independence and this other concept called interdependence, right? That's where you work with others. Okay. Anyway, so Anjali, I think I answered your question right there at the beginning of class. That's where the assignment links are. There are 2 of them. Submit the same file to both. Okay. And I will remind you of that. It's due on Friday. All right. Questions? Okay. So we will leave it there for today. Thank you all. For those of you who came into class in person for the first time, it's nice to see your faces. Glad you popped in. And for those of you at home who came in through Zoom, I really appreciate it. It's good to see you all. Email me if you have any questions. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
So next week, Esperanza meets in person, correct?
That's correct. Yes, Angel.
All right, thank you.
Of course. Other questions? No? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to end the presentation. Ileana, are you good? Is there anything you wanted to chat about before we conclude today?
No, not really. I think the only thing that you mentioned was Zoom etiquette, I guess, for the next time.
Oh, for co-host. Yeah, just that would help for the waiting room. Okay.
Okay, then that's it. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll see everyone for office hours later.
It's available today. Okay. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.